All right. Welcome to another episode of the Daily Groomer. Today we are joined by none other than Anne Francis. Anne Francis has quite the history here with GroomTeam USA. If you don't know who she is, I was fortunate enough to meet her at the Hershey Groom Expo just a few weeks ago now. So I am more than excited to bring her here. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I love this. I love that you're doing things for the everyday groomer, highlighting different aspects of our industry. It's great.
Yeah, no, and we're super stoked to have someone of your expertise join us here. So,
Mhm.
really, what I want to start with, Dan, is I just want to get to know you a little bit. I want to get to know, pre and being in grooming. What were you doing, and how did you get here? Well, I guess first, before we even start that, for people that don't know, who are you? Where do you live? And what do you do right now?
So, my name is Anne Francis. I am from Massachusetts. I have lived here my whole life. I'll probably never leave. I love the Northeast. Um, so, I've been grooming for 27 years. Right now, I just opened my own salon in my house. I'm working one on one with dogs. I love it. I'm also an Andis Clipper educator. So I get to travel a lot and, give classes and teach people that way. And I'm also on the board of directors of Groom Team USA. So that's what I'm
Lots of
currently doing.
lots of different hats, and hopefully you can give us some insight on what each of those looks like, a day in the life of each of those. But like I said, before we get there, I want to start with how you got into grooming in the first place.
So I knew that I was going to work with animals since I can ever remember. Like I was the kid that was, finding the bunnies in the yard or like, trying to steal my neighbor's cat, being like, oh, this dog just ran into our yard. It needs me. So like my mother was always like, where did you get these kittens? Or like, where did you find this dog? Like, that's not your duck, Anne. I knew I was always going to work with animals.
Right, right. There's always something special there.
Right. So I start in, I was probably in sixth grade when I came to my parents and I was like, listen, I'm old enough that I can have a dog. And like, really sat it down for them, laid it out. And I was the one that, trained the dog, did everything with the dog. So I always knew animals were it.
Right.
And I started off volunteering at an animal shelter.
Okay.
And then came the kennel girl, cleaning all the kennels out and all of that fun. So I always thought I was going to be a vet. That kind of, thought the travel, that was where I was headed. So I went
Yeah.
off to college and was in pre-vet, and all of my animal classes I did wonderful in, but all those other things they want you to know, no interest in. So, math, sciences, things like that. I was like, do I really have to go? Apparently,
Right. You
um,
found that out the hard way.
yeah, so college and I didn't exactly get along that well. So I came home, and of course, my parents were like, well, what are you going to do with your life? Are you going to go to college here? Are you going to get a job? What are you going to do? So I was like, whoa, I just got home. Like, I
Right.
don't
Take
know.
it easy. Yeah.
Right. So I went to a pet expo in Boston, and
Okay.
there happened to be a grooming school that was 6 months full time. And I was like, all right, this is cool. This is another animal related, um, you know, thing that I can have under my belt. So I never thought that I would actually become a groomer or go into grooming. It was just kind of like another skill and something to do to get my parents off my back.
Yeah, sure.
So, I ended up going and actually really loving it and really being good at it. My first win was our student competition. I picked this little poodle that nobody liked to groom because she was super needy. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's mine. And, the judge was Linda Kay, who is also an amazing groomer from the Boston area.
Okay.
She's been around forever. So she was my judge then. So one of my instructors was also working at a salon that I applied to. And so I ended up started working at the salon that I was at for the last 27 years. And my instructor said, we'll go into a competition. You should come. And I was like, competition? What do you mean? I don't even have a
Yeah.
dog. So they happened to be a poodle mix in that day. And they're like, call her mom, see if they'll let you take them and compete with them. And I was like, all right. Like, I didn't even know what I was doing. Everybody in the
You had
shop.
no clue what you were getting into.
No. And I ended up taking third place in the mixed class, and I beat my teacher. and that's it. I was hooked.
Amazing, amazing. That is so funny and such a cool story from humble beginnings. It's like you had no clue what you're getting into, and here you are. Like it is your livelihood and your passion right now.
Yeah,
It's so funny to look back on that and how that works, and just
yeah.
these little moments turn into big things.
Mhm.
Very cool. So obviously that first dog you said was a poodle mix. Is that kind of still your bread and butter nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, I groom anything and everything. As I've gotten older, of course, I'm a little bit more guarded with, bigger dogs and things like that. It's taken a
Yeah,
toll on my body, but I still do Goldens that have come to me once a month. So they, get on the table, they know
yeah,
how to behave. I'm not against, big dogs. Same thing with doodles. So many groomers, have something against doodles, but my doodles come every 4 or 5 weeks and they're well behaved and works out fine for me. So
yeah. No, that's awesome, and it seems like that's the key, though, is that frequency. They get to know you really well, and that's what makes
absolutely.
your life and their life easier collectively.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, so you just said that you worked at, remind me the name of the salon, that you
It
first
was
started at?
the Village Groomer that I was at for many
Okay,
years, and,
okay.
unfortunately, the owner decided to close,
Mm.
unexpectedly.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
yeah, yeah, it's been difficult and it's still recent. Like I
Mhm,
said, I had been there for 27 years, so but fortunately, I had started a salon in my house and I was only working there part-time and doing more like labor intensive, like hand stripping, or I have these two gorgeous Maltese that come in coat that come once a week. Um,
mhm.
so I had already started kind of grooming out of my home salon, and thank God I already had that set up. And my clients just,
Started
made
coming to your home.
yeah, because
They don't
I'm
wanna lose you.
they know I've been grooming generations of their pets,
Yeah,
and they've
yeah,
known me since I was 18.
yeah. Oh,
So
yeah, I mean, the relationship with you, right?
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, we
Well,
only trust you, and not that there isn't, other groomers out there, and I completely understand that some of my clients did have to go to groomers that were closer or whatever,
mhm,
but, there are enough dogs for everyone. I always
yeah.
tell groomers that. And any of the groomers that did get any of my dogs that I would groom, I encourage them to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to tell you what I did for a haircut, or,
Right.
what are the quirks are with the dogs. We all have to get along. So
Right, it's all one team at the end of the day, right?
exactly.
That makes sense. I mean, looking back, that was incredible foresight for you to set up the home salon.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had no clue that this was gonna happen.
No.
What made you kind of, especially being there at the other salon for so long and for them giving you kind of your first shot, what made you set up a salon at home?
I just wanted to do more specialty at the shop. It was really high volume.
Okay.
We were grooming 9 to 10 dogs a day with
Oh, wow.
bathers, and was usually like 4 groomers on. So it was a very high volume salon, mostly just pet cuts, get them in, get them out. You know, I just like working one on one now with the dogs. It's a lot
Yeah.
slower, a lot calmer. Um, it was time. So
Yeah. Just a lot more of an art, right? I mean,
yeah.
instead of a factory, you're just churning them out. It's a lot more, no, this is something I like to do, so I wanna take my time with it. I wanna get to know them, make sure they're relaxed, that sort of stuff, and I see that.
Absolutely.
And as I said, I mean, looking back, it was incredible foresight for you to actually go do that. Since transitioning to be full-time in your house, how have things, changed? Obviously, with the materials, that you might need and maybe, the beds or whatever it is, I'm sure the actual equipment, that you have available has changed. But really, I mean, you're the
Honest
full-time business owner now.
Yeah, honestly, I had a double set or triple set of all my equipment being grooming so
Okay.
long because when I was traveling, I had my spare travel kit. So I had one
Right.
at the salon, one at my home salon, and then my travel kit.
Okay.
So
So you
I
were prepared.
yeah, I've
Yeah.
got thank God I was blessed enough that I had everything that I needed and I basically could just step right into the next step for me.
Right, right. And tell me more about, learning, from, like I said, the village grooming shop, you were, for lack of a better word, employee, right? You don't have to worry about, the accounting side of things or anything like that. When
Right.
you were trying to figure it out and get started on your own, walk me through how you navigated that. You truly had to become not only just a groomer, but a business owner as well, and
Right. So
all that stuff.
luckily, I have a lot of friends in the industry. So if I have any questions along the way, they're more than willing to give me some advice. But also, I went right to a business lawyer and said, what do I need to do to make this right? I already had a CPA set up, and she's helping me get my LLC in order and all that stuff. So I just went to people that, that's what they do for a job. I groom
Yeah.
dogs for a job.
Yeah.
So know, if they tell me, what kind of books to keep, I just do what they say. And I've worked with these people in the past, so I do trust them.
Yeah,
So yeah, so
that
far
makes
so
sense.
good.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, what do you think was the hardest part of transitioning away from going somewhere to groom, versus doing it full time at your house?
I just think the worst part of it was the shock.
Yeah,
After
I
getting
mean
over
that is
that,
crazy.
everything else has been pretty good, smooth sailing. Like I said, luckily most of my clients have known me for a very long time too. So they're
Okay.
willing to, work with it. I had to put in like a cement walkway around to the back door to my shop, so
Yeah,
a little few things like that people have had to be patient with. But
that's cool.
it's been a pretty smooth transition. I always get calls for, specialty things like hand stripping, or, like a cocker spaniel groom to with the natural back, things like that. A lot of pet groomers don't have the time to do that at their salon. And I certainly didn't when I was at the salon because, the person who was running it didn't give me the appropriate times for it. So I just wouldn't do it. If I can't do it right, I wouldn't do it there. So that's why I
Right.
started my home salon so I could actually
Okay.
take on clients like that, because those type of things, it's something different than what we do every day. It kind of just re-inspires you and just gives
Yeah.
a little extra, oh, this is different,
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
yeah, and it gets you a chance to actually put your skills to the test. It might
absolutely.
it might have been a minute since you've actually got tested and challenged with a new cut or something like that, right? And doing
Absolutely.
the same dogs every day at the salon and kind of get routine and mundane,
Yep.
that sort of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, which brings me to, why I go to shows or conferences. Because, like, once I went to that first one and competed in one, I've been going to conferences every year since. And that's 27 years.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, I did it on a small scale. I did like, the Northeast shows. I went down to Atlanta, but nothing real serious. And I
Sure.
them, so it would keep me refreshed. It would keep me energized. It would keep me from getting burnt out. My husband, I can talk to him about all this stuff, but in the end, he's not a groomer. So when I
All
can
right.
my people who understand, then it's like, oh, okay, you guys know what I'm talking about.
Right.
But yeah, the shows just keep me energized, and I've made some amazing friends all over the country, so it allows me to go and spend time with them as well.
No, that's amazing, and I love that too. The value that you're able to extract from these conferences because a lot of times, I mean, you have to take off. Groomers are faced with the decision: do I take
Yep.
off work? Maybe either take my time off or miss pay, that sort of stuff, right? And then
Yep.
even pay to get out there, pay for the hotel, that sort of everything that comes along with it. And they find it hard to justify before they go. Is it going to be worth all this time and money?
Well,
But
I have to tell you, competing is where I've learned the most, because at the
okay,
salon, I was the top groomer. Like, I was the one that knew the most. So there was nobody
yeah,
there, that I could say
they
learn.
can learn from.
Right. So competing for me actually allowed me to learn more breed trims and everything like that, because I don't have a show dog background. I don't have anybody in my family that shows dogs or anything like that. So this was all kind of new for me. When my dad passed away 11 years ago, and when he passed away, I really said I want to make a run for GroomTeam. So GroomTeam USA is the top 10 competitive stylists in the US. So how do you get points? You get points by competing in the open class, which usually there are 2 or 3 levels to each show. Open class is open to anybody. That's the highest level. And then you get points on each individual class, like poodles, sporting, hand strip, scissoring, and you get a certain number of points for first, second, and third, depending on how many competitors you beat.
Okay.
So, and then you take all your shows and you add it up, and then the team is the top 10 competitive pointed groomers.
Okay.
And then every 2 years, we take the top pointed groomer from each category, meaning the poodles, hand strip,
Yeah.
and they go over and they compete in worlds, which is like the grooming Olympics.
So cool.
I know, it's so funny. So many people don't realize that this happens.
That's what I'm
And
saying. Let's get it out. Let's get more
like,
people in
where's
this.
the whole like competitive dog grooming ring? And people are like, what? Like, yeah, we even have like a grooming Olympics.
Right.
So, and I tease now that I'm older. I'm like, it's a lifestyle.
No, that's awesome though.
It really is. And like
Yeah.
you said, the commitment and everything like that. I knew when I was going to go out for GroomTeam that I had to push. I had to push with dogs. I had to push with, scrimping. Oh, there was no vacation that year. I went to grooming shows. Sorry, honey. So, but we both, had I had an idea of where I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
What my long-term plan was to get to be a judge, which I am now, get to be an educator, and then work for a company like I do with Andis and GroomTeam.
Yeah.
These were my goals that I set for myself. So, me putting all that money into it originally, that now I'm starting to see the
The
pay.
investment payoff.
You know,
Yeah, yeah. So it was an investment. You weren't spending, you were investing there with
exactly.
that early time and money. That's great. I mean, what a story too. So tell me that first year when you were like, all right, I'm gonna push for Groom Team. Did you make
Yeah,
it that first year?
I did. I did. I've
Let's
actually done,
go. That's awesome.
yeah, I've been on GroomTeam, I think 4 years.
Okay.
I'd have, I can't even believe it's been, 27 years that I've been grooming.
Oh yeah.
It's also funny too because I've competed with multiple generations. Like
Okay.
when I first started, it was the tail end of a lot of the first people who started, GroomTeam and things like that. And then I stayed in the ring when they passed and they
Yeah.
retired and became judges and things like that. And now I competed with the next generation of people.
Yeah. And
So
now you're on the judging side and you're seeing those people become seniors and yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that is so cool. So how did it change when you moved through that? I mean, when you were first competing, were you nervous, intimidated by all these people that had been doing it for a while and that sort of stuff?
Oh yeah, especially when you get sat next to um Pina, she would groom next to me, or Lindsay Dickin or Mackenzie Murphy, all these great names. I'm like, okay, I should just go home now. But
I don't think I belong here, guys.
but the thing about all of my competitors is they are more than willing to help you out. I used to travel with Mackenzie a whole lot, and she would be forever gracious, go over my dogs, tell me, what I need to fix. And then, sometimes I would let her borrow my dogs, so I would see her grooming on them. Once a lot of people think that, these top groomers are stuck up or whatever, but it's not. They're on their game when you see them. So
Yeah.
when they're competing, they probably haven't had much sleep. They've been up since 4 drying their dog, and they're like eye of the tiger.
Right.
Because this groom can make a difference whether or not they go and compete in worlds.
100%. 100%.
So
So they're locked in. They're not worried about being, really nice and like, that sort of stuff. They're on game day mode.
right, right.
But they're approachable at the end of the day, I think is what you were going towards.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you ask them, they're like, "Oh yeah, of course," or like after the competition, they're more than willing to spread their knowledge because, like me, we all started somewhere. It's
Yeah.
and if I could show some of my past competition pictures, they're laughable. Because it's where I started. But we all start somewhere, and you know what? I'm still learning new things. Um,
Yeah.
Things change, new tools come out, new shampoos to make our job easier. And
Right.
also that's why I keep going to these conferences too, is so I stay up to date on trends and tools. And haircuts change. If you look at haircuts from the 80s, it's laughable, because it's so different from today.
Right. Right. 100%. 100%. So that is so funny to me that I mean, it's very cool that you've been able to see like so many different like, generations kind of move through that. How have, the tools and maybe even some of the competition rules or any of the approaches changed as you've seen the generations move on?
Well, what's changed for me actually that I've seen the most is the whole industry, how we approach it.
Okay.
When I first started, like I said, it was like a factory. You groom everything and anything, that's your job. Get it done, get it pretty, get it out. Now it's a much different approach. It's, make the pet comfortable. If it's going to be a struggle, it's the pet's, safety before any, beautifying happens.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a whole mindset change. Like, back in the day, you'd say, oh, that's a bath dog. That's our bread and butter dog. But now every dog is a grooming dog,
Right.
so it's
Right.
changed like that. The competitions, I wouldn't say they've changed a whole lot as far as how they happen and, who wins and things like that. Um,
Do you think there's been more interest, like
Absolutely.
more people, competing and getting involved?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with a lot of the certification programs being able to be done in the competition ring. As you know, our industry is not regulated. There's no
Hmm.
licensing or anything like that. So there are a lot of good certification programs. I'm certified through NDGAA, which is National Dog Groomers Association, and I actually got that fairly well. Now, not recently, but when I was
Yeah.
in my last few years of competing, I got it
Okay.
because I felt that if there is any, licensing coming up or anything like that, I needed to have that as a background. But also, if
Yeah.
I'm going to be teaching and judging people, that I should have that as a background.
Sure.
So, there's always more things to learn.
Oh, 100%. And I think that's another reason that you said you go to all these conferences is you're always on the lookout to learn new things from different people, no matter how experienced or how, new they are to the industry.
Right.
I'm curious, how have things changed since moved from competitor to groomer or to judge?
So for me, it got to the point that it wasn't fun anymore. It was more stressful than fun, and I was
Really?
finding, yeah, and I was finding it affecting also like relationships with other people in the industry.
Okay.
Everybody's pushing so hard to get what they want, their goals, and I understand that, and that's a great thing. But it also just got to the point that it was just too stressful for me. And so I was
Right.
like, you know what? Now's the time that I'm just gonna step off. And I was able to do a few apprentice judging. And the judges all know me because I've been competing so long. So they were more than happy to invite me to apprentice under them. And then I started judging, and I love judging because I can pick out so many things like that I did wrong, or
Yeah.
just things like I was like, I know that's wrong because I did it.
Yeah,
You
from
know?
years in the arena of you making that
Right.
mistake and you're like, "Ah, yep, I remember when I used to make that."
Right. And the most
Right.
rewarding things to me is seeing these competitors grow. Like
Right.
this last show we were at, there was this young groomer that I've judged her for a couple years now, and she placed first with her poodle. And I was so incredibly proud of her because I know how much work she's put in, you
Oh,
know,
awesome.
and I've
Yeah.
physically been able to
Seeing
see
it.
how she's
Yeah.
grown. Yeah.
That
And
is so cool.
that's really rewarding for me.
As a judge, right, 100%. I think that ties right into, like, kind of that education piece too, is I feel like people don't see that side that, yes, you are judging, but at the same time, when you're judging, I mean, you're educating and you're helping that person realize that, "Oh, okay, like, I did mess up this or this." They're
Yeah.
gonna go home and they're gonna work on that.
Well, it's funny too because sometimes I'll reach out to somebody and I'll be like, if they don't come after the class for a critique for whatever reason it is, they might
Yeah,
be in, a class right after, they might have anxiety and don't feel like
yeah,
they can approach you right away, which is totally fine. I get it.
yeah.
But like there'll be times that I'm like, I have to tell that competitor this. Like, and I'll seek out like a friend or something. I'll be like, hey, can you tell so and so? Because I know that they need to know it. So
Yeah,
I'll message them online and be like, "Are you open to a critique?" Um,
yeah,
just because I feel like they spend the time, they spend the money to be there, and
yeah.
to not get that feedback. So I do try to help people that way too.
Oh, 100%. No, I love that, and I bet you're right. I mean, it probably is a little bit disheartening at first for some people to hear the critiques if they don't win. But at the end of the day, it's constructive, and that can help them in that next groom or that next competition.
Right.
I'm curious, the people that are competing, are they your typical, groomer or maybe shop owner, stuff like that? Or do they
There
do grooming competitions full time?
That no, no,
Okay.
and that's a big, misconception. I think that people think that these competitive groomers, like all the top 10, that all they're doing is show dogs and, competition dogs, but no, the reality is they're grooming pets every day at home. You
Okay.
know, we have to make money other than just going, and if it would be wonderful if all we could do was shows and,
Right, right.
but unfortunately, we got to get back to our salons and do some work. But as far as who's in the competition ring, I mean, there's such a wide variety. Sometimes we get people who are just into their breed that they show, and they're not pet groomers. And they, come and they'll compete, and that's great. They get to see this side, and they also get to see that pet groomers want to improve their
Right.
grooming to make it like show dog grooming. So,
Right.
we'll have those.
That's cool. No, I mean, that was my hunch too, that there is this wild misconception around the world of competitions within grooming that people think that these are full time, these,
Right.
these people are full time showing dogs and they can never compete against someone that's doing that and they don't have time for that because they're doing grooming on their own or running a shop or something like that. But I think it is important and it's great to hear it from you that these are just regular people. Like
Yeah.
they're grooming and they just stepped into the ring at some
Yep.
point or another like you and they just started learning from there and from there and next thing you know might be a judge on Groom Team USA.
You know,
Super
it's
cool.
it's funny, I always say where grooming has taken me. I never thought that dog grooming would take me so many places, and, I've been able to travel internationally, which is amazing,
Right.
and, get to meet groomers from all over the world and how they do things, or be
Yeah.
inspired by what they do.
I mean, what are the major differences, when you go to these world competitions between US groomers versus others, whether that's in style or like procedure or anything like that?
Yeah, it all depends. Sometimes it will be, like there's no where we allow our competitors to use snap-on combs to cut a lot of things in, block everything in. A lot of foreign competitions, you're not allowed to do that. Which, in my opinion, it can go either way. Some people think it's a shortcut by using snap-on combs, but once you cut off that hair, it's gone. So you
Yeah.
can screw up your haircut in one swipe. So
Right.
to me, if it's a tool available to groomers, then they should be able to use it in the competition ring.
Yeah. No, I like that.
Other people feel differently, but also I feel like we're pet groomers. So sometimes, we get a little off of that. And, like I said, if it's available as a tool to us, then we should be able to use it in the competition ring.
Sure. No, I mean, that makes 100% sense. Where are we at? I know you said it was a 2-year cycle for these world competitions. When is that next Worlds?
So the next worlds will be in 24.
Okay.
So right now, because of the pandemic, it messed up the show cycle a little bit, among other things, right?
Yeah.
So our last team went and they got the bronze, which was awesome,
Okay.
out of 16 countries. So they did
Amazing.
super, super well.
Amazing.
Europe always does well in competitions.
Okay.
That's some of the most strongest groomers. And I have to say, throughout the years too, I've seen other countries come and learn from the US groomers, like Canada. They've got some amazing groomers, but they didn't have it so organized yet. So
Okay.
started, getting organized and coming down to our shows, and they pushed the US groomers to be better groomers.
That's
And
great.
a lot of times they say, well, the Canadians are coming down and stealing our points, and I say, well, you're going to have to beat them at World, so get
Right. No, I love that. Yeah, I mean, it's more competition, so it's gonna make you better before you go represent all of us.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
I love that. Who are kind of some of the bigwig countries outside of the US?
France was really good.
Oh, yeah.
England, I believe, won the whole shebang. So,
Okay.
and of course, the Canadian team is up and coming. They've got some amazing groomers on their team right now. So, it just depends who's on the team. All the countries that are there, do an amazing job. It really
Yeah.
comes down to style, hair. You just never know the judge, what they're looking for.
Got it. And how are the judges assembled for the Worlds?
So, excuse me, Umberto is the president of the European Dog Grooming Association over there, and he organizes the world's competition along with Kitty DeKershka. DeKershka. I don't know if that's exactly how you say her last name, but she runs Groomania. So,
Okay.
the two of them usually get together and pick who is going to be the judges for what. And of course, they've got to be super qualified people, because at the level that these competitors are competing at, you need to have the best judges for the job.
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't judge any of the open classes in the
Okay.
USA or abroad, because first of all, the loophole is that I'm on the board of directors of GroomTeam USA, so I can't judge them.
Yeah.
However, right now I don't want to judge them. I'm too close of friends with them. I
Yeah, that's
compete with
true.
all of them. I want to wait until they're all, out of the open division, and there's a whole new cycle of people.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you never want to be the one delivering that critique to your friends, even though they're your friends. It's just like you want to try and remove any sort of bias either way.
Right, right.
No, very cool, very cool. I mean, this whole world is fascinating in terms of competitions, and I love that original point, original story of you just hopping in just because, not knowing what to expect, and here
Yeah.
you are. I mean, as you said, it's your life now. It's
Well,
it's
it's
a
funny.
lifestyle.
It's funny. I always come back and say it's a lifestyle style jokingly. However, I did marry my husband out at Super Zoo.
No way.
Yes.
That is fantastic.
Just a little quick story about this. So I competed at Groom Expo Hershey 10 years ago in the rescue.
Okay.
And what the rescue is, they bring in local rescue animals and we give them makeovers. And this was an invitational one.
Okay.
So the prize was $1,000, the cover of Groomer to Groomer, which is the industry magazine that everybody wants to be on the cover of,
Okay.
and a cruise. So I was like, yeah, psych. So I actually won it. And I won a 10-day cruise, right? So I was like, well, I have to give this little dog a home now. And she bonded with me like so quickly. And they were like, well, she has a home. So I was like, all right, well, let me know if it doesn't work out. So about a week later, they're like, she was returned. And I said, okay, I'll take her. So my friend brings her up to New England, and we discovered that she doesn't really like men. Yeah,
Small problem.
right. So it took my husband about 6 years to be able to pick her up. Yeah. But
Oh my gosh.
now they're best friends. But when I was on the cruise, I got engaged. This is
Beautiful.
my pink ring for
That's
me.
beautiful.
Engaged in Aruba. So I was on the cruise, got engaged, and then Super Zoo is out in Vegas. So my husband and I had both been married before, and we were like, well, we don't want to do the whole big thing. I'm like, I just want to have a pretty dress. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's it.
that's
Just
it.
and so we went out to Vegas, and it was so much fun. And my friends in the grooming community who were competing in the jackpot, all dressed up, and I wore my wedding gown,
So
and
fun.
it was great.
So fun. So you groomed in your wedding gown.
I did. I did.
That is amazing. I hope you saved those pictures
Oh
everywhere.
yeah. And after we got everybody who was in the jackpot in one giant picture with us.
So good.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What a cool story. I mean, that really is your life, which is why that is so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, Anne, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing all that about Groom Team USA. For anyone that is interested in joining or even just learning more, maybe they're not ready to make that first step to enter a competition. How can they get a hold of you or learn more in
Well,
general?
we've got a website, and we also have a Facebook page. Our website tells how you can be a sponsor. You can buy merchandise to support the team. It gives you the current rankings, and it also gives you the point tabulation so you can kind of figure out how things are going. There's also some past members on there, so you can read about a little bit of history. We've got a great new social media person, so she's really kicking up our social media. Looking forward to that this year to see all that fun stuff. Keep an eye out for that on Facebook and TikTok
Amazing.
and Instagram. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. And if you were to give one tip to someone that does not compete right now and has maybe thought about it before, what would that be?
If you want to compete, just get in there and do it. Even if it's just, there's these smaller competitions popping up. I saw that Jonathan David is having one in Florida, great prize money. It's not Groom Team sanctioned. So, people who may be intimidated by the people who compete more may want to try one of these, competitions that isn't sanctioned yet. There's a lot of opportunity there. Or, like I said, the rescue rodeo, that's more of what we do every day in the salon. It's just like a pet that you've never met before. So, maybe that's a little less intimidating, but
Right. Lower pressure.
like, if you're into it, if you're interested in it, just go for it. Get your feet
Love it.
wet, jump in, have fun. That's the most important thing. Have fun.
That's
Um,
great. That's great. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't need to be a big, scary pressure thing if you don't make it that way.
Right. And if you once you get in there, you kind of everything falls away of what's going on around you. You just kind of get into your groove and you're just grooming a dog. That's what you do. That's what we do. So,
Right.
you kind of get in your zone and you just say, okay, I'm grooming my dog. And the real competition is basically against yourself. Like I always
Right.
wanted to do better than I did last time. And always take pictures of your grooms so you can compare them to the last time, see your progress, see what you need to fix. That's
Love
my
that. No, I love that. I love that. And thank you again so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate the time. Hopefully, people do, reach out or at least they've learned something about Groom Team and what amazing work you guys are up to, and your incredible story too. So,
oh, thank
uh,
you.
again, really, really appreciate it. We'd love to have you on again someday in the
Yeah, I
future,
mean,
especially as the world's approach and all that sort of stuff. We need an inside person here.
absolutely, absolutely. Like definitely, I'd love to chat with you guys again. I love to share my knowledge. I love to help up and coming groomers or established groomers. Go on to GroomTeam USA website, sign up for our newsletter. A lot of our sponsors give out some information about products. It's not just Groom Team related. We try to, reach a wide audience. So go ahead and check that out.
Perfect. No, everyone had that way. Well, thanks again, Ann. Appreciate it.
Thank you.